Okay, this is part 5 of Federalist number 3. Because the prospect of present loss or advantage may often tempt the governing party in one or two states to swerve from good faith and justice. To swerve from means to distance themselves, to avoid doing the right thing. But those temptations, not reaching the other states and consequently having little or no influence on the national government, the temptations will be fruitless and good faith and justice be preserved. The case of the Treaty of Peace with Britain adds great weight to this reasoning. It says that if the states are separate and not united, one or two of them might get tempted to violate the treaty. For example, the Treaty of Paris in 1783 between the United States and Britain, they decided that the British will start leaving these forts that are alongside right here in this area. Once the people in different states that owed them money would pay them. In this paragraph, he's reminding us that maybe some of these people in these states, like some of the people in Virginia that owed a lot to the British, they might decide and say, the hell with it. Why should we pay? Why should we pay the British? We're just going to go our own way and ignore the agreement. In this paragraph, it reminds us that if Virginia was by itself, then there's a good chance that Britain will invade it again, will go to war again with it, trying to make her pay for everything. But since we are united, that idea might just stay in one or two states and will not spread all over and get other states to get tempted and violate the other parts of the treaty. So this is another advantage of the national government. That in union, even if one or two states get tempted, we can still not mess things up. When he says the governing party in a state, because remember, these states are not as populous as all of the United States. So it's easy for somebody to be in office that really doesn't deserve to be there, but because they've promised people, sometimes with lies, that if you elect me, I will do this and this and this for you. It's easy to get somebody in the states elected that possibly get tempted not to respect the articles of the treaties. They say, well, I'm only accountable to the people who elected me, so I'm just going to do what's best for them rather than what's best for them in the long run. So far, therefore, as either designed or accidental violations of treaties and the laws of nations afford just causes of war, they are less to be apprehended under one general government than under several lesser ones. And in that respect, the former most favors the safety of the people. A lot of times when Publius uses general government, they're talking about the federal government, the national government. And when he uses lesser ones, he's talking about the state governments. It doesn't have the same meaning as lesser means right now. I mean, less important. It just means the smaller one. And those are the state governments. And again, he's reminding us that if one or two states accidentally, or even on purpose, violate part of the treaty, the national government, the general government can still take care of the situation in a peaceful way, in a better way. Because if somebody wants to go to war, they'll think about it twice when they have to go to war against 13 states, against the Union, than they would if they were to go against 1 or 2 states. And when he says just causes of war, he's talking about the just war theory, which sometimes it is just. It is what justice asks for you to defend yourself. So this just war theory, we'll talk about it later on. Right now, let's not focus on that. But he says there are times that other countries might be right to go to war against one state if that state constantly violates a treaty or does something to provoke them. But if you're united, that can happen. There's a small chance that that will happen. And it continues, as to those just causes of war which proceed from direct and unlawful violence, it appears equally clear to me that one good national government affords vastly more security against dangers of that sort that can be derived from any one quarter. See, again, he repeats that. He reminds that one national government, one union, can stand up to another country or even group of countries that might want to go to war with us. So again, that question of safety. It says governments are there for your safety. And what's the best way to ensure your safety is to be part of the United States. And this union can be much stronger than only one state. Then he continues, because such violences are more frequently caused by passions and interests of a part than of the whole, of 1 or 2 states than of the Union. Not a single Indian war has yet been occasioned by aggression of the present federal government, feeble as it is, but there are several instances of Indian hostilities having been provoked by the improper conduct of individual states, who either unable or unwilling to restrain or punish offenses have given occasion to the slaughter of many innocent inhabitants. Again, he says, we have seen it that in 1 or 2 states, whether it'll be here or some of the residents that have moved here, some of the settlers, or in the state of Georgia, we've seen that sometimes state governments or people who live in several states have started a war with the Indians or Native Americans that live next to them. He says federal government has never done that because they don't let passions take over. Remember, I said one of the words that you'll hear over and over, and it's very negative, it's got bad connotation, bad meaning, is passion. It means people become unreasonable, do something that is not in their best interest, but just because for a second this thing has got in their head, they act from passion and not from reason. They're not thoughtful. So he says that passions take over parts of the people of one of the states. They start a war with these Native Americans on the side. They go and enter their lands when they're not supposed to. Sometimes they just start a war, and when the Native Americans fight back, okay, then it might just give a cause or give a reason to, let's say, if the British are in alliance with them, for the British to come and start a war with us because they're their allies. One of the things you'll notice is that There were lots of Native Americans right around here surrounding state of Georgia. And Georgia did not have a big population. And you will notice that one of the earliest states to ratify the Constitution, to accept the Constitution and become part of the Union, is the state of Georgia, because they were so scared of the Native Americans here and they knew they could not defend themselves. So they gave them a reason to join. So he's saying that we've seen that the passions that might take over in one or two states might stir a state of war, but if we have a federal government, a national government, maybe that national government will put soldiers along the borders and will defend you, and states won't constantly create war, cause war. Because these states, people in these states think, well, we don't have anybody to defend us, so we'll attack them, attack the Native Americans first. And that is foolish, and that'll start another war. That's something that's not good for anybody. He uses the word slaughter, means mass killing, just killing of a lot of people. And when it says Indian hostilities having been provoked by the improper conduct of individual states. In other words, individual states, people in individual states do things to provoke Indians to defend themselves, to provoke them into hostilities and war. Get them all incited to start a war, to defend themselves.